What's up, gang? Today I'm going to show you some magic. That's right. I'm going to show you what it would be like if the WordPress plugin system were based on inheritance and not this open-ended functional programming thing that we've had for the last 20 years. Okay? Specifically, I will show you what it would take to build a plugin in an object-oriented environment that uses inheritance, and you're going to see just how easy it could be. And if you've ever built a plugin before, you'll see the very stark contrast between the reality you've lived in and this potential reality you could have had if WordPress had actually been built the right way. And even if you're not a developer, even if you don't do this stuff, don't care, I think you're going to see and going to feel like, wow, I could do that. And that's the truth. When a system is built the right way and uses inheritance, anybody can interface with it in a powerful way. In fact, it's invigorating to do it. You feel like, oh my gosh, look at all this capability I have. All right, so strap in. I'm going to show you the magic, and we're going to see what is possible, and not just this kind of terrible environment that we've been working in forever. Okay, it's totally different. There's a huge contrast here, and you're going to be amazed. Let's dive in. So first of all, if you really need to watch my previous video on inheritance to have the background information so you know what we're talking about. But the bottom line is every WordPress plugin is going to need to do certain things to be able to work, okay? And I'll show you what some of those things are. So the first thing is here on the plugin screen, when you go to activate a new plugin, you often see a settings button or a settings link. This goes to a settings page so you can configure the plugin. So you need a link on the plugins page. And then you need an options page like this settings page so that the user can configure whatever options you have in your plugin. So these are two really basic things that any plugin is going to need. Also, you might have a plugin that does something with content. So when the user enters content here in the editor, you might want to have your plugin do something here on this page. There's additional boxes on these editing screens. These are called meta boxes. So occasionally, you might want a plugin to add a box here with some options in it so that the user can configure stuff for just this page of their website. So these, again, I'm just going over some basic functions that any plugin you might want to have, okay? And so another thing is a link in the settings menu, or a link over here just in the admin nav bar, or maybe even a link up here in the admin toolbar. So these are all basic components or parts of a plugin that you might want to have. And whenever you see something like this, you see these commonalities, functional commonalities, okay, this settings link on the plugin activations page, an actual options page, things like that, shared functionality that any plugin might want to have. That means that little function is a candidate for the model that is going to be used for inheritance. So in this case, we're going to have our model is going to be this base plugin architecture. This is something that should exist within WordPress. It does not exist there now, but I'm saying if WordPress were built the right way using inheritance, this model would exist within WordPress. So we're kind of identifying the pieces of the plugin model here. Settings page, settings link, meta box on the post editing screen, things like that. Okay, and so I have, I'll show you what, just a little bit here. I've got my plugin model, and this is what would exist in WordPress if WordPress were built the right way. And this is literally a model. This is one that has a fill in the blank. So whenever you see these brackets, that means this is intended to be a find and replace fill in the blank thing, so that if you wanted to make your own plugin, you would just fill in these details and boom, you'd be off to the races, rather than having to configure and code up the whole plugin and understand a lot of these basic concepts. Not even basic concepts. It's idiosyncratic stuff in WordPress. Oh, if you want to do this, then you have to do all this other junk too that you probably weren't expecting. In my experience, that right there, it's you want to do this, But in reality, to work with WordPress, you have to do these other 6 things that you were not expecting and that don't really seem that related. You have to do all this junk that you weren't counting on. That often is a momentum killer. Because when we are creative and we want to do something, we want to do what it is that we have in mind. We don't want to like try to do this thing and then, oh, but you actually have to do all this other stuff that you had no idea about. That kills your momentum. You're like, I don't know if I really want to do this actually. And so when you encounter a situation like that, you're working with bad architecture. If you have to do a bunch of non sequiturs to get to the place you want to get to, you're working with a crappy system. So this system I'm showing you is not crappy. This is an inheritance-based system. And here's how we know. We have class extends plugin. Okay, plugin is what I've called the basic architecture, the would-be proper architecture for a WordPress plugin. So I'm showing you some of the pieces. So what this consists of is it has a method here to handle options. So if you have a settings page, you're going to have options on that page. This is an easy way to convey options. Post meta, I showed you a post meta box. If your plugin's going to have a post meta box, or if it needs that, you can convey the options that appear in the post meta box through a simple function like this. Even custom post types, that's another thing. I didn't actually set that up, but in WordPress, you may want to have custom post types as well. Here's what that might look like. So this right here, this modular content is my example here for a custom post type. You click on this and you can create these custom post types. This one's a modular content custom post type, but a plugin often may want to do something like this as well. Like all e-commerce plugins do this, plenty of other popular plugins do this. This is another thing that any plugin might want to do, and therefore this functionality should exist within the basic plugin architecture that exists in WordPress. Of course, that's not the case, but again, I'm showing you a suppositional reality here. This could be our reality if our reality were better. So again, back to this. So that we got, you could do post type, post meta, an options page, and then a little constructor here. And this is a way, this is really kind of a thing that says, hey, whatever unique stuff you want to do, start doing it in here. Okay, and this is just a framework right here. There's not a lot for you to learn from this little thing yet. This is the actual inheritance piece. So I'll try to explain a little bit more clearly here. Here's the very base part of the model. It starts right here, class plugin. There's basic, this is all the stuff I was talking about, all the core pieces that you might want in a plugin. They're actually in this code right here. So I've got an admin URL, options, post meta, a slug, that's a reference to like modular content. Here is modular dash content. There's a title, a version. You can have documentation. It can be associated with a store and have a license key. A plugin can be activated that way. You got more documentation links. And so here's where this is all the model that should exist in WordPress. This is all the code you should never have to write. But if you do create plugins in real life, you actually are doing a bunch of this stuff. And if you have more than one plugin, you're doing this stuff multiple times in multiple plugins. It's really inefficient. All this stuff that you're seeing right here is stuff that can be set up for you and should be set up for you, and you would never have to deal with it. This is nonsense that you should never have to wade through. It's amazing. So we've got some stuff happens when you install a plugin. There's some basic stuff that's always going to need to happen when you install a plugin. It's all contained right here. There's some stuff that needs to happen when a plugin is initialized, when it first starts running within WordPress. All that stuff is contained here, so you don't have to do it. This takes care of things like if you have an options page, then you'll also want to do these things. All those directives for that are contained in here. You've even got a little option to have a front end in your own plugin so when we have inheritance, we have our base model, and then we have these satellites that inherit the base model. Each one of these satellites is known as an instance, okay? So it's an instance of the base model. It's a unique instance of it. It's a unique expression of the base model. That's what an instance is. And your instance, which is your particular plugin, your unique plugin, it may want to output things on the front end of a website. This is a handy, convenient function for doing that. And the reason you would want to do this is so that anything that runs here won't also run on the admin side of things, So it won't muddy things up. It won't slow down the admin interface. It's a nice little separation that says, hey, only run when it's appropriate to run. There's another little convenience that's just baked in here that's not baked into WordPress, but it should be. So again, we got our options, post meta. If there is post meta, then there's certain things that need to happen. This takes care of all that, so you never have to think about it. Same with post types, custom post types. So this plugin action links, this thing automatically creates the settings link I showed you on the plugin activation page. So here's an example of one. Let's look YouTube performance, settings link right there, boom. That's conveyed automatically by something like this. Admin menu, that handles any links that appear over here on the left-hand side in the admin menu. Again, I'm just walking you through some of these conveniences that are baked into the model. This is stuff that you would want to do, but every plugin wants to do this, so why should you have to do it? It should already be done for you. Registering admin assets, this is stuff like CSS or JavaScript files that you want to run on the admin side of things. Everyone who does a plugin right now has to specify, okay, I do want to run this, but I only want to run this in certain places. And generally speaking, plugin developers don't do a very good job of this. This takes care of all that. You say, hey, I've got a JavaScript file that says, okay, fam, I got you. We're only going to run this in the right places. The logic's done once. Why should every plugin developer have to figure out these things that are essentially the same? It's like you're asking every WordPress, real WordPress, asks plugin developers to figure out the same math problem essentially over and over and over. Why? We figure it out once and then this is how we do it. This is a good model. WordPress is not. So admin CSS, admin JavaScript, we got that covered. In queuing stuff, this is adding styles and scripts to the WordPress environment. This takes care of all that. You don't have to be writing this code every time. Why do that? It's a repetitive thing. Don't repeat yourself. It should be in the model. Stuff on the editor. If you want to add stuff to the editor like this, there's certain things you have to do. It's a pattern. The pattern should be in the model. The pattern is in my model. The pattern is not in WordPress. You know, these are all efficiency gains that could exist in WordPress, but don't. Tabs, this is interesting. If you have an options page, the WordPress way is to have some tabs up here so you can switch between little panels to do stuff, okay? This automatically sets up your tabs, so you don't have to do it. And of course, you can modify this, you can overwrite this, you specify your own tabs, you can extend this. So you're not stuck with whatever the model gives you, you just get a starting point and then you can do the most efficient action to add your unique, the unique stuff that your plugin's going to do. Here's a method. This automatically creates the admin page. This admin page was automatically created by this method, so I didn't have to redo this within my own plugin. In a moment, I'm going to show you the actual code I had to write to create this YouTube performance plugin and its specific options, its unique options, so that it would all work. And you'll be amazed at how little code it is. It's remarkable. All because I'm using inheritance. I'm inheriting a bunch of efficiencies. I'm inheriting a bunch of code that I shouldn't have to do over and over and over again. And that's the magic of inheritance. You're inheriting all the boring busy work that is patternized. Anything that's a pattern should exist in the model so that you don't have to repeat yourself when you do your unique expression. This is really the most fundamental, it's the fundamental essence of computer science when it's applied properly. So again, we got the admin tabs. How about a save method? I explained this in the last video. If you got an options page, you got to save all this data to the database and then retrieve it later. That's actually a really big pain in the butt. It's a huge pain in the butt. Every plugin developer right now has to deploy a system to do this in each of their plugins. That's ridiculous. It should just exist in the core, and you should, anything, any of your extensions, any of your items, your instances that inherit this model, all that stuff should be baked in. Why are you sitting there scrubbing options over and over and over again? It should be done once and never done again. So save, updating, if you have a license key, or even if you don't have a license key, if you just issue updates for your plugins, there's certain things you have to do about that as well. Again, that's another pattern that should exist in the model and not in your satellite code, in your instance of this plugin model. This is common to all things. It should exist like this. License key, if you want to have a license key, there should be a system for that. In my plugin model, there is a system for that. In WordPress, there is not. So if you wanted to, implement a license key on your own plugins, you would have to figure out how to do all this. It's painful, fam. And that costs a lot of development hours. And the odds of doing it right are very low. But if you do it this way, we can identify, we run like 20 of these instances. We can figure out, oh, hey, there's a weakness here. We can patch up the model. And then everything that uses this will inherit the improvement that I've made, or that whoever has edited the model has made. This is the way it's done. The way WordPress works is not it. It's not software. It's not doing computer science. It's just it's forcing you to do all the work over and over and over again. That's torture, fam. So saving a license key, non-trivial. This is a lot of code to do this, and it's got to be just right. It's got to make the right checks at the right times. It's got to do stuff. This is all baked in here, so you would never have to do it. Why should you repeat work that's already been done? Even having like a system status page, almost every significant plugin needs to know like the status of your system. This thing has it all baked in, so you got all the information there. There's no sense building this, in this plugin, that plugin. Oh, my plugin has system status. Bro, every plugin should have it. It should be in the model. It's not special to have this. It should be in the model. It's embarrassing that it's not in the model. It's embarrassing that people have to do this and then brag about it. It's ridiculous. Okay, so that's all the plugin base. All right, let's look at the YouTube Performance plugin, which again has it has the settings link from the plugin page. It's got its own options page here with 3 tabs. It's got some custom options. Let's look at how much code it took to do this. And also, so what this does, what the YouTube Performance plugin does, is it makes it so that if you include a YouTube embed in your content, normally that is going to add at least 1.5 seconds of loading time to whatever page it's on. The YouTube Performance plugin loads the video on demand. Only when the user clicks on the video thumbnail to say, hey, I want to watch this, that's when it loads it. So this will save any page where you include a YouTube embed, this will save about 1.5 seconds of loading time. And that, it makes a huge difference. So it's a simple efficiency gain. This plugin provides that. And all it needs is this little bit of custom options to do its thing. So let's look at exactly what it takes. What is the uniqueness about the YouTube Performance plugin? What code is required to make it do its unique stuff? All right, so we've seen the model. Now we're going to look over here at the YouTube plugin. It's this file, one file. And here we go. Final class, YouTube extends plugin. So YouTube is now an instance of this plugin model. It is a unique instance of this plugin model. A unique instance is going to do some very specific, unique things that the model doesn't do on its own. So let's see. And this one is, it has a license key. All this stuff is set up to specify that. Again, that's all in the base. All the plugin developers saying here is, oh yeah, I have one, and here's the URL of it. Okay, this one also has a shortcode. To do what it does, you would include a shortcode in your content. So this one has a shortcode. The shortcode's not baked into the model because not every plugin is going to want to have a shortcode. So here we got our shortcode. And we got a little simple function here. This is just to make it so that the name of the plugin can be translatable. WordPress has some funkiness about it, so it needs to be done a special way. It doesn't really matter here. That's part of the model. All right, so here we go. The options. Here are this options page is conveyed by this code right here. It's a simple array that specifies the first option is information, which is this blue box. The second option is width, height, and resolution. So that's these guys. Width, height, and thumbnail resolution, which is a select box. And then there's also a tooltip on this one, and we can see what that is. So this tooltip is specified here in the code as well. Tooltip says, okay, there's my text for the tooltip right there. The thing is, this is opened with JavaScript. So I need some custom, I don't need custom JavaScript. You need some JavaScript if you're going to do something like this. That's also baked into the model. So it says if you have options and if you have a tooltip, it's just going to make that work for you. So you don't have to write JavaScript. You don't have to add a file to this page and figure out how to get it to run on only this page. All that stuff is already pre-configured in the model, and it just works when you deploy it in your instance. So this is all the code that's necessary to make this options page work. It doesn't just convey the options, it gives you the ability to save them and retrieve them and to do all that in a way that's compatible with the database. I mean, that is saving so much work. Guys, if you've ever had to convey an options page with a plugin, this should be blowing your mind right now. This takes care of it all. A simple array. There is nothing easier than this. What's an array? It's just a bunch of data, and this data is unique to this plugin. That's all it is. This is not this is not calculation type code. This is not like an if-then statement. You don't have to think to do this. All you're doing is, it's like writing stuff down on a piece of paper and handing it to the program and saying, hey buddy, you know what to do with this. Go do your thing. Nothing could be simpler than that. Here we got our pseudo constructor. So again, I said before that in the model, this gives you a way to like do the stuff that's unique, like say, hey, start doing the stuff that's unique for this plugin. The only thing we have to do here is to add a shortcode to your WordPress environment. And this does that. And then within your code, you can, or within the content of your post, you can then include your shortcode and the thing will work. This little method here is unique to this plugin instance. This says, if the shortcode is detected in the content, then here's what we got to do. So this is really what this plugin does. Okay, you include the shortcode in your content. You say, I want the YouTube video with this ID, this unique ID. YouTube videos have unique IDs, and then it will output a little box, a custom box, thumbnail of the video with the functionality that when the user clicks on it, then it loads the video on demand. This shortcode method takes care of all that. Another add-on for that is this JavaScript needs to be added to a page where you've included the shortcode. And so this makes sure that that JavaScript is added if your shortcode appears. And then this JavaScript is necessary to create the functionality that when you click on the video, then it actually loads it on demand. But this is the unique stuff about this plugin. So this is the stuff I had to figure out. I didn't also have to figure out, well gosh, all I want to do is make it efficient to serve YouTube videos. But what I really got to learn is how to add a freaking options page to WordPress, how to add a settings link, how to have a license key so that my plugin will only work if somebody's paid for it, how to have a system status thing so that if I need to troubleshoot, then I can check on this stuff. I didn't have to do any of that crap because it's all baked into the model. This is beautiful. This is exactly what the YouTube Performance plugin does and nothing else. You're seeing only what it does. Also, some CSS is necessary to add to the output of the web page so that the video thumbnail with the clickable play button so that it looks right. So this does that. And it even is adaptive. This CSS method here is adaptive based on the options you've set. So like this is a really sophisticated little plugin that does some elegant things. But here's all the code. This is it. This whole document is 218 lines of code, and a lot of it's this license crap and like just some stuff that you're going to have to put in there anyway to identify it to the larger WordPress environment. Really, it starts here on line 45, pardon me, and ends on line 218. So it's not even 200 lines of unique code, and some of this is like cheap lines of code, right? Like this is CSS output. But anyhow, that is totally remarkable. You've never been able to look at a plugin and only see what's unique about it. But using inheritance, you can actually do that. This is exactly what is unique about this plugin and nothing extra. Nothing extra. Nothing is repeated. I'm not doing anything unsavory here. Like this is the most, like I said earlier, if you want to do this one thing, but you actually have to do these 6 other unrelated things, that sucks. What you're looking at is you want to do this one thing, and here's all the things you need to do. Exactly all the things you need to do to achieve that one thing. That is incredible. I want to look at one more example, slightly more complicated, just so you can see the power of this thing. So I'm going to go back to the plugins page, and we're going to look at the previously mentioned modular content plugin. This is actually a really great plugin, guys. It's available on DIYplugins.com. This will change your life. It adds really clever functionality to your WordPress website. But anyhow, let's look at this plugin. So what modular content does, it has this settings page. Again, it has a license key. It has system status data. And so here we go. It's got some simple options, but check this out. This is really cool. This is baked into the model as well. This select box has dependent options. So if it's this setting. If there's nothing selected, there's nothing to do. But if you do select some content to show as a fallback for your posts, you can then choose some subsidiary options like where do you want it to display, before content or after content. You can even add a class to it, a unique output class, so that you can style this. You can customize it according to your own taste. You can do so really easily by adding a styling class. And the same thing happens here. You could add one for pages. It's got some more options as well. And then you can save it, and boom, again, that stuff is saved to the database and then retrieved later. I don't have to do any of that. Let's go farther. So modular content, the way it really works is it is a custom post type within your WordPress environment. Setting up a custom post type can be a drag. There's lots of stuff that you might want or might not want. So like, I want the editor screen to not have all the normal options. I want it to be very limited. I don't want modular content. So like if you create a post or a page in WordPress, so we'll go over here to the posts. If you create a post or a page, it also has a URL associated with it. So like I can look at this page on a website. With modular content, I don't want it to have a URL. I don't want it to add stuff, cruft, to my SEO environment. I don't want it to add new URLs to index to my site. So I want this type of modular content to not have what I call an endpoint URL. So that's all baked into the cake here. It does not have an endpoint URL. It has a special shortcode associated with it. It's got a little special option here underneath the content. So you can, in this case, you can disable certain automatic formatting that WordPress likes to apply to content. So there's a lot going on here, okay? A lot going on here. If we go look at the code for this, we can see how it is all set up. So here we go. Class modular content extends the plugin model. So modular content is a unique instance of the plugin model. Here's the information that's unique about it. It's got some little variables here, some properties, we call them, that are unique to the way modular content works. Here's our options function. This tells us what this tells us what is happening here on the settings page. It conveys these options. So here's our little array information. That's that blue box at the top. You got this drop-down selector for posts, and then you've also got a drop-down selector for pages. And the way this is all set up, like this is called a type is a group option. That tells this that it's like a dependent child. So like if this has a setting, then this group will appear. If it doesn't have a setting, then that group is not going to appear. That way the user's not confused. The user doesn't have to look at a bunch of options and make decisions about stuff that's not relevant. So this is a really elegant way to handle an options page. But it's super simple the way it's conveyed here. It's just conveyed through an array. That is crazy. You don't have to do any processing or anything. Here's post meta. So this is the stuff that is going to appear after the post editor here. Modular content, you can choose if you want to display modular content on this page, what type of modular content, and then you can choose where it appears, and you can even add a custom styling class to just the modular content that appears on this particular page. So that's really granular functionality there. That is normally very difficult to code up, but the way that this plugin model works, it makes it super easy. It's literally just an array once again. There's some stuff here, I had to figure this out again, but I only had to figure out what is unique about modular content and only deal with that functionality. I didn't have to do unrelated crap to get the answers that I want. That's so key. Again, if you've ever coded any of this stuff up yourself in a normal WordPress environment, you're like mind blown right now because this is so much easier. Here's custom post types. That is setting up the whole thing for modular content where we have this. All this stuff in WordPress is set up when you set up a custom post type, but this little array that this module accepts is simpler than the way you have to set it up in WordPress. This is way more straightforward. And so you just follow this little pattern here, boom, you can create your own custom post type with absolute ease. I could teach anyone to do this in just minutes. That is not true of WordPress at large. I could not teach you to do the same thing in minutes. Here's the constructor that says, okay, here's all the stuff that needs to happen for this unique instance. So start doing it. It does that. We initialize the modular content shortcode so that you can output modular content just within any piece of content on your site by using a shortcode. That's another way of using the modular content. It's not just conveyed through like, oh, hey, here out on this page, I want to display this, or on every page of my site, put this at the bottom, or every post of my site, put this modular content at the bottom. Like maybe you have a different sales pitch or an email opt-in or something like that. Be a perfect use for modular content. You can also deploy modular content within the body of your content. So not just above or below, but also within, thanks to the presence of the shortcode. And then we've got, the admin menu link with the settings thing. So that sets up this. So when you register a custom post type, it will automatically add this, an item that's clickable to over here to the left admin bar. But then I also added a settings page for convenience. And I was able to do that by this really easily. Add submenu page, boom, no problem. Again, I'm only taking the actions that are unique to this plugin. We've got our tabs. We've seen the tabs on the settings page. These guys, super easy. There they are. There's some admin CSS, some little custom CSS that's necessary to show some of the options. Also some JavaScript to make the options work a certain way. I've added that. Super easy, very simple there. I'm enqueuing stuff. I'm adding stuff to the admin environment. I want to make sure that's added at the right time. This is all done here. This get content, this is necessary. The modular content is stored in the database. And when you want to output some, this code has to retrieve it from the database. So this does that. Very simple. This fallback modular content function is, that's how, when you set these options in the settings page, this is how they actually work. This method here does all the stuff that needs to happen, so that works. It's, it's not pleasant to look at code like this, but the reality is this is very simple code to do something that's somewhat complex. So this is great for that. Like this is as easy as it's ever going to be. Another thing to help with the fallback functionality. Here's the code to make the shortcode work. So if you want to put a shortcode inside your content, this makes that work. Again, this is as easy as it can be and as straightforward as it can be, which is so critical for greater understanding. Like I said, if we want to do one thing, but we got to do 6 unrelated things, that sucks. That's hard to understand. But if we want to do one thing and we're only doing the things relevant to it, that is much easier to understand, much easier to accept. It's easier to work with. It's just better. We got some other filters. The modular content itself has to be run through a bunch of filters so that it sanitizes all your text the same way that WordPress does. This takes care of that. Again, these are things you probably wouldn't expect to have to do, but like you start building the modular content plugin, you're like, oh crap, I see I need to do this, this, and this. All this code takes care of this, this, and this. It's even got an update function so that, and a license key function. So this plugin is activated with a license key. And if you want to get updates, this tells this, so this is super pertinent right now. So there's a big mess in WordPress right now about misuse of the WordPress theme and plugin repository. This plugin model makes it really easy to say, hey, don't use the WordPress plugin repository, just use mine. So I set up my own plugin repo essentially, and this method says, hey, look over here instead of looking at the WordPress thing. This is where you're going to get updates from. I'm just going to bypass all that nonsense so no one else can screw with my livelihood. So I'm in charge. This makes that easy. Like if you're sitting there right now and wondering how to do this, you're probably like, dang, I don't know how that's going to work. Fam, this is already built into this plugin model. You could do it right now. Crazy. You could have a license key. Now, I will mention this license key system here, this little sample one that I built into this. This relies on another piece of software called Easy Digital Downloads to do it. But bottom line is I baked it all in here. I'm showing you how easy it really could be. This saves the license key and does a bunch of stuff. This is kind of a big deal. Eventually, I would build this into the model too if there was enough demand. But there it is. So 500 lines of code, more or less, to do this modular content stuff. And that's about what I would expect for the unique functionality. But I'm telling you, if I had to do all that other stuff, this code base would be thousands and thousands of lines of code. But because I've got the model, I don't have to do that. Like this is all stuff from the model, everything else you see. Everything that's unique here is modular content. And then I've added an admin mc.css file and these 2 JavaScript files. So there are literally 4 unique files that I have: admin MC, editor MC, and modular content. 4 unique files to convey all this, whereas it would have taken this entire library to do it all if you didn't have the model. So that's just huge. That is just huge. So there it is. I hope you can see how this model and the instance of the model, how this framework sort of needs to work. And I think I've shown you how much more efficient it could be, especially if you have the experience of having ever done this with WordPress and can really see and feel that contrast. It's just incredible. So I'm going to do another video about inheritance to kind of bring this all together for everybody. But now you've got the background information. You see what is possible. And if you've ever coded this stuff up before, you're probably like jaws on the floor right now, like, wow, I had no idea how much unnecessary work I've been put through over the years. I mean, guys, WordPress has been a big deal for 21 years. And the fact that this stuff is not baked into the core in 2024, I mean, I am aghast at that, guys. I can only conclude that those in charge of the project don't understand. They don't understand inheritance. They don't understand what's possible. And they're not really interested in doing computer science. I don't do this because I want to make money. I thrive on this. I love the challenge of setting up a super efficient system. And then even more, like that's step 1 of the reward, is to like think through and set up this really hyper efficient system. But step 2, that's maybe an even greater reward, is to build your own unique things, these creative things that you want to do, but to be able to do only that thing and not have to do any nonsense. It's paradise. Guys, I work in paradise, and WordPress forces us to work in a favela. I'm trying to show you something that could change your life significantly. I hope I've done an okay job of that. I hope I've at least set off a light bulb in your mind, some spark of imagination. Because this stuff, once you see it, it's too good to ignore. You can't unsee it. You have to have this once you've had it. All right? See you in the next video, guys.